Hello, class. Once again, Chapter 2, Selecting and Defining a Research Topic. We're going to talk about here the research topic, the components, particularly the research question, the problem, and the purpose. So identifying a topic or a research question, the first and most important thing is making sure that you're picking a topic that is of interest to you, regardless of what that topic may be. Something that is particularly in your field, regardless of what that field may be. And I understand everybody in this course comes from multiple different areas of education. And so whatever the topics of your field are, that's what you should do. That's what you should be really focused on. How do you pick a research topic? One of the questions I get a lot from doctoral students, particularly in their first year of education, but even in their second year in their master's program. How do you pick a topic? Well, here's some suggestions in terms of picking a topic if you don't already have a topic. You derive a topic from theory. What are the different theories out there? What do they say? How do they help explain the phenomenon that is happening? And how does that help us understand what we know and what we don't know about society and about education? Personal experience in schools or colleges. If you're a K-12 sort of scholar, you're looking at schools. If you're a higher ed scholar, you're looking at colleges. What type of experiences did you have? Or did you suffer discrimination because of your race or gender? Maybe because you were a student athlete, a particular experience that you had. How do you understand, how do you help understand the experiences of something that you already know a lot about to really bring it in a sort of a larger scale, to be able to maybe quantify it or qualify it in a larger scale and help explain it. Those that raise questions and interest throughout your coursework. You've been reading a lot of theories, you've covered a lot of books, you've taken a lot of professors up to this point, I'm thinking, not only as a grad student but as an undergrad. What were the most important questions that really sort of moved you, that really sort of interested you? That's a potential sort of avenue for picking a topic. Studies that you've done and you'd like to replicate. What kind of studies have you done? Have you studied pregnant students? Have you studied maybe LGBT students? Have you studied maybe African American, Latino? What type of studies have you done? And how might you sort of bring those to a larger scale in a more sort of defined research approach? And then through library searches. What type of searches have you done? Why have you done those searches? What have those searches led to in terms of expanding your own interest? So in the quantitative, the way that you state a topic is very different in both quantitative and qualitative research. In quantitative, you're going to describe the variables of interest, right? The specific relationship among the variables. As we said, this is correlational research. And also the characteristics of the participants, sort of demographics, for example. And in qualitative research, it's often a lot more general than a quantitative, because quantitative, you're trying to get real specific to get some real specific knowledge. In qualitative, you're trying to get more, even though that deals with a lot of numbers and large data sets. In qualitative, it deals with small numbers, but you're really trying to get a larger understanding, feelings or, feelings of, mental health or feelings of depression or something like that, that is very, very broad. You're trying to sort of get a big picture sort of perspective. And you also it uses terminology that is appropriate for a qualitative study, which we'll talk about later on in this chapter and others. Both qualitative and quantitative have their own particular language. And it also gives essence to the study as well. So what is a hypothesis? You got to state a hypothesis. So remember, this is really more common on the quantitative side of the research house. Okay, an educated guess, formalized hunch about the relationship of one or two more variables, as I was talking about earlier. For example, maybe let's go real basic in elementary, because my daughter's in elementary school. If we provide all the kids with healthy lunches, how does that affect sort of their ability to focus in school, right? The healthier the lunch, the greater the ability to focus. Is there a correlation, right? And if you believe that there is a correlation, you state a hypothesis, you know, a statement concerning a supposed relationship among variables that research will shed light on. So you have various types of hypotheses. You have an inductive hypothesis, which is based on generalizations on specific observations. You have deductive, which is derived from theory and provides evidence that supports or expands, contradicts the theory. Non-directional, which merely states that there's a relationship. You don't know one or the other. You don't know, say, if healthy lunches are going to improve the educational outcomes or make them worse. Maybe kids don't like just sitting around eating lettuce and carrots, and that may affect their overall performance. Who knows, right? Bidirectional, right? The expected direction of the relationship or the difference of the variables. That one thing is going to lead to another. And then the null hypothesis, that there's no difference or relationship between the variables that you're studying. So stating the hypotheses is very clearly. So example, P, who are the participants, right? P are the participants who will get X. X is sort of the treatment. So the participants are kids who get better lunches, do better on Y, say that's exams, right? Kids who get better lunches will do better on exams. And so you have to have for sure participants. You're going to have an independent variable, and which is the treatment, what you're giving, and then you're going to have a dependent variable, which is the outcome. A qualitative hypothesis is not common or general practice. The terms are not generally used or associated with quantitative research or different terminology. The purpose of qualitative is not to prove truth as much as it is to explore and deeply understand ever-changing realities. So sometimes at the very end, that's why in qualitative research you don't come to conclusions. You come to a discussion about what you found. In that discussion, a lot of times what you find raises more questions than what you answered, but that's okay. We're still getting closer to the truth, nevertheless. The focus is given to a qualitative study through the research question, right? How specific you make that research question or how general you make it is going to truly sort of focus, give you sort of a lens by which to focus.